And hello and welcome everyone to the Pumpkin Copter Cast, a good old podcast about video games. Today I am interviewing a man who has been described as unstoppable, uncrushable, and generally just fantastic. I am talking with Megaman today.
Hello. How are you?
Good. So
Awesome.
we'll roll on to the first question, even though lots more people have heard of you than of me, who you are and what you do for a living currently.
I am a musician, and I used to be a teacher, and I'm a video game player. I've been a gamer for life, and just decided to one day take my love of games and my love of hip hop music and combine them. And I have created an interesting career out of that.
Hmm. So just one quick thing as a current teacher to a former teacher, just what's up? Because you were the third person I've had on my show who's had an educational background.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's neat. The second being Robbie Benson of the Super Soul Bros, and the first being Gaijin Goomba, who taught people over there in Japan. So it's something I've noticed. Teachers
Both
getting into
very
games.
both very good friends of mine and very talented people.
Hmm. So on to the next question. What's the video game that got you into video games?
Well, this one kind of changes a lot, but I honestly feel like the game that made me like crazy about games was there was an old system called the Vectrex
Huh.
back in the 80s. It had a little screen. It was like black and white, like kind of like dot matrix graphics, and the system came with a packaged in-box game that was like asteroids basically, but with it's a little different than asteroids, but basically the concept was asteroids. And I really would stay up all night long playing my next door neighbor's Vectrex, and I just wouldn't stop. So I knew that was the moment that I knew that video games were going to be a big part of my life.
Hmm. For me, it's always been Paper Mario, but I grew up in a super duper very Nintendo household.
Nice. It's a great game though. Super great game.
So, is, so while not all of your songs are video game themed, quite a few of them are. And going into that, is there any specific game or series of games, like past or presently, that gives you the most ideas for your video game themed songs?
Well, anything that usually has a combination of things. I'm looking for great music, super catchy music, and it has to be a game that I played and I cared about at any particular time in my life. So, if it was tied to a really cool moment in my life, then those games definitely have definitely a more special place. Final Fantasy, Mega Man, Zelda, Super Mario. Those are all really special points in my life where I can remember where I was when I played them. So they'll always be connected. Um, but yeah, I think that it's got to be the combination of a great soundtrack plus it has to have some historical significance to me.
Hmm. And like, what got you into music and made you decide, hey, I'm gonna see if I can make a career out of this?
Well, I used to work at a GameStop. Before it was GameStop, it was EB Games, and I always loved games. But one day, the a game for PlayStation came out called PlayStation Music Generator, MTV Music Generator, and I started using that to make music. You can make beats,
Hmm.
and so it had a really cool sampling mechanism on it where you could eject the disc and then pop in any other CD, and then you could play some music from that CD, record it, and then pop the game disc back in, and then sample manipulate that piece of music and put it into your tune. And so, since I worked at GameStop, all I had were video game soundtracks. So I would sample Resident Evil. I would sample uh, Mario. What else do we have? I would sample Final Fantasy. I would sample Zelda, and then make beats out of them. So I had hip hop beats that sampled video games, but um, I would sample the least popular ones, and people didn't necessarily know that they were video games. They just thought they were great beats, and I think that that's what showed me that video game music was music, and also that cool things could be done to it to make different genres of music out of it.
Hmm. I had no idea there was even a thing on the PlayStation. Shows how much I know.
Hmm.
So, if the world was a much better place than it is right now, which video game character would you most like to write and record a song with?
Hmm. Person I'd like to write and record a song with. Uh, did you say a video game character?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that Bowser would make some good tunes.
Really?
I think so. He knows how to make noise. I think we can make some really cool stuff.
What style do you think he would have if he got into the music business?
Uh, I feel like Bowser could be a great rapper. He's like a bully, and like he's big and strong and loud. And when he talks, people listen. I mean, he'd be like a DMX.
Hmm. Mm, on to the next question, and this is not a typo, as I just sometimes have to preface. In your opinion, as a player of video games, is video games?
I still don't understand the question,
It's not really the
but
type of question with a clear answer.
is video games? Well, um, if I would say yes, absolutely. Um, Video games is everything to me. So I do believe that video games can be any and everything.
Hmm. I like to keep that particular question as vague as possible because you'd be surprised the variety of answers you can get from people. And so this next one will require a bit of Googling, but a while back, fellow video game YouTuber, The Completionist, reviewed Super Mario Galaxy 2, and he mentioned one of the characters, a big ol' star person known as Lubba, and his words, he said that Lubba looked like if he could talk would sound just like Biggie Smalls. So if you wouldn't mind Googling Lubba, I can send you the image. We'll see if you agree.
I never played Mario Galaxy, so I think that um, I don't necessarily know. I mean, does this character have a voice or a sound in the game?
I'll just supposed to work?
I mean, I see a picture. He looks like he looks like Patrick from SpongeBob, but he's purple. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like a grimace thing going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't necessarily remember Grimace's voice, but I could definitely see Lubba sounding like Biggie Smalls.
Oh, huh. Never thought I'd get a clear cut answer from that question. So, so what specific moment in a game, just for whatever reason, made you put down the controller and just stare with wide, huge eyes at what was happening?
Well, that would be Final Fantasy VII. The first time I saw a limit break go down or a summon, I think that I was so amazed that I just stopped everything. I just thought that it was just the greatest graphical display up until that point that I'd ever seen in a video game. And considering the jump from Final Fantasy 6 to 7, I think that that is probably the biggest graphical thing that could have happened in like the late 1990s. Um, Going from Super Nintendo to PlayStation 1 and seeing 3D and things like that. So I think that watching like big giant creatures come in and wash away all the bad guys, it just completely blew me away. Like this is something I never imagined video games getting to when I first played my Nintendo Entertainment System.
Let's see. For me, a most recent example would probably be, I don't know, Super Mario Odyssey. Just all of it. Because
Hmm.
a lot of people seem to, for good reason, hold Super Mario 64 as like one of the goldenest gold standards for Mario platformers, and I don't know. For me personally, Super Mario Odyssey seems like a fully improved and fully realized version of what Super Mario 64 set out to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I was completely impressed by that game. I may be one of the only people who doesn't swear by Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, Super Mario 64, rather.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't a 64 player until much later in life. So I didn't get a 64. I went to PlayStation and not Nintendo 64. So when I did try to play Mario 64 for the first time, I was so confused. Camera angles and just 3D just absolutely just got me lost. I was like, where am I supposed to go? The game's not telling me where to go, And I just wasn't ready for 3D on platformers. But I do think that Mario Odyssey has like completely revolutionized platformers. And what I love most about it is that all the different things you can change into with Cappy
Hmm.
are great. But even when you get to the very, very, very end of the game, there's still new things for you to do as Cappy. And I really, really appreciated that. The fact that the very final battle, even, you're still they have new gameplay innovations at the very end of the game. And I always take that stuff to heart. And I think that people who put that kind of effort into a game should definitely be commended. So it's an amazing game.
Yep. So, moving just smoothly along to the next question. What are the games you played back in the day when you first discovered video games, and what are the games you play more of now?
Um, well, now I move around a lot more than I ever did in my life, so I play the Switch all the time. So anything that's on Nintendo Switch is going to be worth a try for me. I just recently got into the Gungeon. I've been playing
Ooh,
it a lot. Super fun. High level of difficulty. I'm about to be on a really long flight in a couple days, so I'm looking forward to that keeping me going because I absolutely suck at it. It's a super challenging game.
it
Cuphead,
is.
when I am home, Cuphead is another game that gives me a lot of difficulty that I enjoy. So I really need things that are extremely challenging, but also that teach me as I keep going so that they don't completely frustrate me to never want to play them again. You know what I mean?
I
You know what I
do.
mean? Yeah.
So, so yeah. So based based on your current internet name and quite a few of the songs on your YouTube channel, I'm a guesstimate that you're quite a fan of the Blue Bomber.
Nah. uh, my, I actually really like Tetris, but Tetra Ran didn't sound as good.
So, on to my main point. What was your reaction to the announcement of Mega Man 11, and how do you feel about Capcom moving away from the 8 bits to a more 3D style?
Well, I was there during the announcement. I was lucky enough that Capcom was awesome to invite myself and a couple other gamers and streamers and people who love Mega Man to come to Twitch headquarters while they did a Mega Man 30th anniversary celebration. And then at the very end, they pull out the surprise of all surprises. And I wish there would have been a camera on me at the time because my jaw was just stuck open. Like I just could not believe that this was going down. So I had a really great feeling about it. It just brought all smiles to my face. Um, it does kind of remind me of the graphic style of Mighty Number Nine, that 2.5D.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of 8-bit myself, so I was surprised to see it, but not upset because I do feel like with what 10 8-bit Mega Man games, you've kind of done all you can do with that style of game. So rather than be lazy and then create something that's just a mishmash of Mega Man 2, just, upside down or with different types of levels. I really give them credit for going back to the drawing board and building something new from the ground up. So I like it. I'm going to give it a chance.
I'm excited. I was more surprised, if anything. I thought Capcom just decided to stop having good ideas because that's what at times it's what seems like to be the general train of thought that's going around.
All right. And I agree, man. I do feel like everyone's been like, oh, man, nothing's original. These guys are just, they just got sequelitis and they're just putting out new things with the same old game. And I do appreciate them changing it up for this.
Yeah. And there are people saying that Mega Man is just gonna do the same old thing in the regular action platformy shooty gameplay, and which I and a lot of people will point out that Mega Man's the reason that type of gameplay exists. Well, one of the big reasons. Without Mega Man, who knows where games would be?
True, true. I mean, so many games have gotten so many, gameplay styles and ideas from Mega Man. So who knows where we'd be.
Yeah. And on to the final question on my docket. So, why do you think that video games are important?
Well, because I think they teach people, um, in addition to hand-eye coordination and other things, I think that video games help me to learn to read. They help increase my vocabulary. playing role playing games.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they have just increased my creativity. They have inspired my writing, my stories, my music, my everyday interactions, and some of the best people I know I've met because of video games. Like you, Tyler.
Thank you. And yeah, for me, that's kind of the same thing. Is that through video games and like going to PAX, I've been able to not just play demos of the latest games, but talk to the people, talk to the devs right there on the show floor.
Yep.
Some of the some of the people I've become friends with and am still friends with to this day, I've met through a video game show on the internet. And if it wasn't for PAX, I probably would, I wouldn't have like just had the inspiration or the idea to travel on my own to Texas for PAX South.
Hmm.
And yeah, video games have been with me since, let's see, my since my brother had the SNES, and I would watch him play through Megaman X and wondering just what was going on screen, but still watching anyway because it was cool.
Awesome.
So that's why video games are important to me. And yeah, I believe unless something crazy happens at the last minute, that brings us to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. I would like to thank my guest Megaran for joining me.
Thank you. I want to announce some tours dates and things like that.
Oh, go ahead.
Um, well, I don't. When is this going to air exactly?
Um, if all, if my computer is on its best behavior, hopefully sometime later today,
Oh wow.
the day that this video is recorded.
Okay. Well, I have a bit of exclusive news then that I haven't even told anybody because it just happened so fast.
Ooh,
That I gotta share it. I'll be going to Japan next week for two really cool gigs. I will be playing January 6th in Akihabara with a lot of my favorite chiptune musicians. And then I'll be playing in Yokohama on the 7th of January. And then I'll be coming back home and resting for a little while and then getting ready for PAX South.
neat. So
So
hopefully,
look out for those on my website, megaran.com/shows, because everything will be all announced in the next day or so.
neat. Hopefully, I will see you at PAX South then.
I hope so.
So yes, that has been this episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. If any of the -7 of you listening to this have enjoyed, be sure to like, rate, comment, subscribe. Really helps me out. Blah blah blah. On the rare occasions I have anything constructive to say, you can follow me on the Twitters at tgorman83. And, subscribe to Megaran because ever since I discovered him through his collaboration with the Super Soul Bros, it's been great. And buy all of his albums. I literally yesterday bought Extra Credit, and if anyone watching this is thinking you're probably just trying to score brownie points with Megaran, who's on your show, you're right. So, yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, and yeah, I will see you all next time.
Awesome.